studios. It's now time for us to sit down with Presiding Commissioner Darrell Skiles and have a little come to May meeting. My goodness gracious. Darrell, we've had, I'm not quite sure where April showers bring May flowers, but May thunderstorms and torrential rain bring a lot of water.
It does. This will be 3 weeks now since we were on.
Yes, sir.
With the break, but this is the first Monday of the month, and so we're back to kind of get back talking about what's been going on in the county, right, Stan? And
well, I'll tell you what's been going on in the county, Darrell. It's called rain.
Rain. A good bit of rain.
A lot of rain.
Everybody knows it's listening. We've gotten lots of rain. At my house yesterday, I had almost 2 inches of rain yesterday morning. High water everywhere, of course, and they got another 7/10 of an inch of rain this morning.
You only got 7/10
this morning.
It was almost 2 inches here in town.
Oh, really? I thought as I got closer to town, it must have been more.
God, it came down like crazy last night.
Yeah. So anyway, the crews have been dealing with that as they always do when we get that. Crews have been out checking the roads, and we'll have some road and bridge people. Once we hit daylight savings time, the road and bridge crews go to work in 4/10s. So they work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and generally are off on Friday. But when we have weather events like this, we'll have some road and bridge folks that'll be out today working and checking roads. Of course, while the water's still high, there's really not a whole lot they can do. And even grading, you can't really grade roads when they're muddy, but spots that are roughed up or something that's washed out too bad. I mean, periodically you'll have a situation where a culvert gets clogged up because of debris coming down from the woods. If it gets clogged up, then it washes out around the culvert, and that creates some situations where the graders and the trucks can bring some material. And so they're out looking at those roads, and they'll be working on some of those things today and tomorrow. I think there'll be some of the guys out working tomorrow trying to get some more touch-up work done.
Or even where some of the culverts got clogged up, Darrell, and water ran over and brings debris across the road too.
Right.
We know that happens in Dade County all the time.
It does. So they've been getting out trying to get around all the roads. So they'll be working on that. So anyway, that is what it is. It's this time of year, and in a couple or 3 months we'll probably be crying that it's too dry and can't grade, and I'm a farmer. I got
probably
cattle.
by next Friday.
We'll be crying. Well, I don't know it'll be quite that soon, but anyway, we'll be wishing it would rain here one of these days, and we'll think back here on these good old days. So anyway, but
you're definitely right about that. But there has been a lot of flash flooding in some areas with also the low water crossings. And I want to remind everybody, with all the rain that we have, and right now, if you get any more rain, and there's not a lot left out there, but all it can do is run off. There's nowhere for it to go.
And don't cross it if it's even questionable. And if you can't see the bottom of the road or the concrete of that crossing as you're getting ready, then don't try it on these, especially on all these cars that are smaller and the newer, smaller cars. They're light. It takes very little to wash one of them down the creek a ways or off of a slab, and could be a really disastrous thing. And that's the last thing anybody wants. It doesn't take that much time to back up, turn around, and find another way, or wait a few hours and it'll go down.
Yep.
There's nothing pressing enough that you need to risk washing off a slab or losing your life or somebody over. So anyway, but that's what we're dealing with. A lot of other stuff going on too.
There's a bunch of stuff.
It's been a busy couple or 3 weeks.
Okay, so I don't know which one you want to start with.
Well,
you want to start with your meeting, or you want to start?
Well, let's just go ahead as while we're talking about road and bridge. Let's just mention some things there. One of the things when we're talking about material, the Conservation Department, MDC, every year has a cooperative agreement with the counties. They will supply rock to the counties to be put on roads that access their
conservation areas.
Various conservation areas in the county. We have several. And so it amounts to, but you've got to fill out the application and get it in. And most of those, I think all of them actually are in Commissioner Larson's district, 2nd District. And so Commissioner Larson has been working on that. It's almost $20,000 worth of white rock the MDC will be providing the county. And so this summer they'll be getting that spread. But you got to get that application in. So he's been working on that. One thing that Commissioner Mowbray mentioned that they had to go take care of rather than work on the road. They had to send a crew down to clean up a trash pile of somebody going down the road dumping their trash. Now the sheriff was in and mentioned they're getting some additional cameras, and I'm going to tell you there's going to be some of these folks, some of these slobs who go down on the county roads and dump stuff, and some of them we're going to get some really nice pictures. I hope folks are smiling nicely as they're doing these stupid things, because we're going to get some pictures, and somewhere along the lines, in times past, people have been caught done that, and it can be fairly expensive. So there's
And they'll have to pick up the trash.
and have to go back and pick up some of their trash and maybe some other people's trash too. So do want folks to be aware. And if you see a pickup, going down the road, obviously loaded with some trash and some stuff, if you get a chance to get a description of that truck, maybe even a license number, don't hesitate to call in and let the sheriff's office know, where you've seen this vehicle description, all those things, so that if they can put some of these pieces together, maybe we can stop some of this stuff. But it's just frustrating that we have crews that need to be working on the roads having to do nothing but go down sometimes and pick up a bunch of trash and garbage. So, but that's kind of the way that is. But also one of the things we looked at, we're really badly needing to get another dump truck and replace one that's getting some age on it and give us some trouble. An issue that has come up as a result of pandemic, and as you know, there's all kinds of supply issues. I've been told if we ordered a new dump truck now, it might be 24 before we would be get it in service. So Commissioner Larson's been needing a dump truck. He's been trying to find good used dump trucks. The problem there is you find one this morning and it's gone this afternoon. So, but he did locate what appears to be probably a pretty good buy on a really good. We need one that's very heavy. Axles, of course. We're talking about the really big heavy-duty dump trucks. Found a Mack truck down in Arkansas, and so he's actually down there. I talked to him this morning, and he went down actually last night, and we'll be taking a look at the truck later today, and hopefully making a buy. It's a 2017 Mack truck, but with the heavy axles and so on, and with just 75,000 miles on it, which on a heavy-duty dump truck is no miles. I've seen the pictures; looks real good. But a gentleman had several in the business, and he's decided to do more fishing than work.
Than rock moving.
And decided to do so. Said he would deliver it himself. His wife could follow him in a car, and he'd be happy to bring it up if it works out and we're interested. So he's going down looking at would save us probably nearly $100,000 or more over buying a new one, and to be able to find one, then but that's part of what the commissioners do and trying to make things work and things done. So I'm hopeful that ends up working out to get that truck. So anyway,
and speaking of road service agreements, you had the road service agreement with the U.S. Forest Service as well.
Right. There's various forest roads and things, and we have what's called the Forest Service road agreement, and it's the one that was in place was out of date by several years, so that needed to be updated. So Dave Massengill came in with that updated agreement. Really no change from anything on that, so nothing to really of note for anybody to worry about, but we just need to get it signed and get that done. So we got that taken care of. We'd mention also on we're talking about Road and Bridge. One of our main sources of revenue is the fuel tax, and that's CART. We call it CART. And we get a monthly report on that from the treasurer, Danita Williams. She came in to report that our April CART revenue for Road and Bridge was up about $4,300 for the same month over last year. So, and year to date for CART, we're up about 22,000 something over, or up almost 23,000 over 2021.
Which is a bit surprising with the price of gas.
It is, and we kind of expect that to start backing up a little bit because that is that fuel tax is X amount per gallon, and so as people, it's not a percentage. So as fuel goes up, we don't get a higher amount. It is still the amount per gallon, and so as people drive less, then that revenue will actually start ratcheting backwards. And as this fuel, I mean this deal with diesel and gasoline too, but it's just as everybody knows, it's just through the roof. We look for that probably to be backing up a little bit as we go on through the year with these fuel prices. But so far it's up about 10%. But that's about $700 and some thousand of our annual revenue for Road and Bridge. So, all those it all comes together to allow us to take care of the roads.
Right. And we also heard in the legislature they were talking about actually eliminating the gas tax.
Yeah, I think that finally fell by the wayside.
I think it has faltered, but Daryl, how much effect would that have had on all the different counties as well as the state roads? How are you going to maintain it if you don't have a gas tax?
That is the major source of revenue from MoDOT, and this talk about them just eliminating it altogether. Because of the price, they wanted to do a 6-month moratorium on doing it. Well, to do that, then basically would have cut about $375,000 just of Dent County budget. Yeah, across the state. So I think they I think, you know, to be honest, I think that was just campaign fodder from from some silly legislators thinking they'd throw that out there that would make some political headway for themselves. I don't know, but whatever. I think that's kind of gone by the wayside for now, and
Yeah, well, I
not
hope it
much
just
change here.
stays
'Cause, I mean,
about
well,
it.
and the whole thing is, if they did eliminate it totally, what is it now? I think with the last increase, what it amounts to is 19.5
I think
cents.
it's not, yeah, I was going to say just a shade under 20 cents.
Yeah. And you know, so you take 20 cents, and I get it. Yeah, you take 20 cents a gallon off of $5.20 diesel fuel. You're still paying $5 a gallon for your diesel fuel. The whole thing is you're going to try to figure out how to drive less and save money that way, because you're not going to save enough on that it's going to make much of a difference in your overall pocket. And the same way with gasoline's getting
Right.
up there at $4. You're just our problem is we're just simply not producing enough of our own oil to bring down the price of these fuels.
The sad part about it is that even if that 20 cents is gone, which is great, okay, so say it's 20 cents, the truckers are still going to have to go over the roads, and they're going to break up, damage the roads.
That's
Who's
right.
going to fix them?
And they've got to be repaired. And
Yeah,
you're
how
talking
you gonna
about
pay for it?
talking about basically wiping out a good part of the MoDOT budget for 6 months. And you know, anyway, so I think that's kind of slid by the side. So anyway, that's kind of it. We also did have a gentleman come in, and interesting deal. You know, we have tractors with big mowers on the side of them, and they're basically ag tractors, and that have been outfitted with a mower, the big boom mowers on the side. It gets to be well, anyway, I mean, and over time they get a lot of hours, have to be replaced. There's a new tractor. It's called a Mantis, Mantis, and it's a machine built in the United States down in Texas, specifically made to do this kind of work with a big mower on the side, so on. They're not cheap, of course, but these new tractors, heaven's sakes, aren't cheap at all either. So, if we're going to try to keep mowing the roadsides, periodically we have to replace those rigs. So anyway, the fellow did come in from Springdale Tractor down in northwest Arkansas. They are a dealer for these machines. So he come in to visit with the commission, and I think he's going to bring one of these machines up in May 18th, yep, and take it out on the roads and do some demonstrating on what it can do and how it would do. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, it can be outfitted with a lot of different things. You can actually have a 3-point hitch on the front of it that you can mount a snowplow on, and so it can be used for some various snowplow work if you need to do that, along with the
brushing,
the mower,
sweeps.
yeah, brush,
Yeah.
sweep the deals, and so
you need
anyway, it has a lot of possible application, and we'll just have to see again. It just all comes back to money, and they're not cheap either, so nothing
No,
is. So
yeah.
anyway, but they do have them at least, and they're on hand. Unlike trying to. I mean, I'm not sure how quick you could even get a tractor to mount the mower on if he was trying to get one. But we know the trucks, the road graders. We know that we did order 2 road graders, because we had 2 road graders coming off of the
Lease purchase.
buyback coming up. So. But that'll be fall before they get here, the graders. So everything's kind of tipsy turvy here on the supply side of things, trying to get things.
Yeah,
so
it
anyway,
is.
I think that kind of catches us up on the road and bridge
Yeah, I
side of
agree.
things.
To go
we've
from
had a lot
there-
of meetings.
Yes, I was going to say, you can start with it, whichever one you want. You might want to start with Denton County Historical Society meeting.
You read my mind.
Well, okay. Well,
Stan is amazing. He reads my mind.
amazing. I am.
And I
Amazing.
cover my notes so he can't see, but he read my mind.
I
but
can't read upside down anyway.
No, he couldn't read these scribbled notes if they were right side up. But anyway, the County Historical Society has periodically has meetings, has special guests in. They had one here a couple of weeks ago at the community center at the Armory, and invited the superintendent of the Ozark National Scenic Riverways, Jason Lott, to come in and talk. About this same time, the National Scenic Riverways announced, and it got out there that they were placing big boulders, putting big boulders in place to block various access points to the current river.
Because they had released their new plan.
They released the new
Like a week before he went to speak.
right roads and trails plan that's been in the works over years and years, and that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But when they done this, I mean, I went to some of the meetings that they had, and it occurred to me at the time they put out, okay, there were three options: Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, whatever. But my question I had at the time, well, who come up with these options? They didn't get these options from the local people. Where did this come from? But at any rate, they had these meetings. To be honest, at most of the meetings that I went to, one of them was right up here, and I believe it was at the Ozarks ONCRC building up the street here.
Right.
And it occurred to me there that I didn't recognize hardly any of the people that were there. And as I walked around and listened, I realized that was because most of them weren't from anywhere around this area, from far outside the area, and that they had some really odd, as I listened, just walking around, that they had some really odd ideas about how things should be managed and so on. But anyway, but that's okay. They're entitled to their thought and their opinion. But at any rate, they finally come up with this plan, and in this plan now that they have, and it's done, they're done with it, and basically the superintendent's message was, this is it. The ship has sailed as far as input on it. If you don't like it, you'll have to sue us, but we're going to implement it. And part of the deal they're going to implement is to further restrict access to the river by placing boulders across places where people have been able to go out, camp and access the river, and
have for years.
Have for years. Places where, and I just heard last night somebody else tell me about places where they historically have been able to access the river from a gravel bar to put in boats and float and go. Nope, that's going to be blocked off, and that there's going to be issuing citations and so forth and so on. So, and they're basically say, if you don't like it, too bad, and that's it. Well, and I mean, there was a large crowd that seen this on, mostly I think on Facebook, and the notice that he was going to be there. So we had quite a large crowd showed up at the community center at the Armory that night for the meeting, and a pretty lively crowd voicing their displeasure about this. And Representative Copeland was there, I was there, and Commissioner Mowbray was there as well, and presiding commissioner from Shannon County was there, expressing his displeasure, and that in Shannon County it's even worse. They have, of course, much more scenic riverways land and river in their county, and they are constantly in a running battle with them over just county roads, where they go and they keep trying to shut off county roads and shut them down, and the Shannon County Commission has to keep just has a running fight all the time. And so, and it's such a neat, I just don't understand why there has to be such a fight. And I mentioned this, and I think you were there at the commission meetings. Years ago when the Park Service got it, there'd been wild horses down there in the riverways for years and years and years and years. A little band of wild horses, a little herd down in the Round Spring area. And so they're in the Round Spring now, up at kind of in the Echo Bluff area. They kind of roam all through there. But anyway, the Park Service, years ago decided them wild horses are going to go. They weren't native to the area, so they were out of there, and they were going to catch them all and take them out. Well, quite a fight ensued, and you know what, Stan? The wild horses are still there.
They keep coming up to people at Echo Bluff right now.
Oh, and the people at Echo Bluff love them. It's oh yeah, they love seeing the horses out there. So whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. But the horses are there. The Park Service. Several years ago, and there's probably people listening to this who had a part in this, and or at least remember it. They issued a deal that trapping was going to be banned. No more trapping would be allowed on the Current River, and I guess Jack's Fork too. I don't know, but at any rate, quite a battle ensued. Some people had to spend a good bit of money fighting the Park Service over that. And you know what? When it was over, trapping is still allowed on the Current River. What their rationale was that they were going to ban it, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, so then here just a few years ago now, and lots of people would remember this, especially those of us at the commission, it came up that these churches going down to have a baptizing. Nope, that was no longer going to be allowed unless they got a special use permit first, and a special permission to go down and if a church on Sunday morning decided they wanted to meet and have a baptizing there that afternoon or evening, nope, that would no longer be allowed. Well, that turned into a little brouhaha for a while, and you know what? Baptizings are allowed, and so that's taken care of. So, they can say what they want, and I can see this is going to shape up to be a real battle over these stupid boulders, and but I would suspect that they may not get all of them removed, but I'd say there's going to be a bunch of these get yanked out of there and removed here one of these days. I would encourage anybody, though, who really has thoughts and opinions on this. I have talked to representatives from Congressman Smith's office, Grant Wilson. He was at the meeting as well. Congressman Smith's representative from Rolla, Grant Wilson, was at that meeting, and he heard firsthand the complaints as well. But I've talked to Senator Hawley's main for our area, Matt Bain, as well as Senator Blunt's representative for our region, Madison Baker. And I would encourage, and Matt Bain mentioned this, encourage everybody, please get their letters, phone calls, whatever, to their regional offices for each of those, Senator Blunt, Senator Hawley. Get their phone calls or letters to them outlining their grief and angst over this deal, because they need to be able to have that to take to the senators and so that they can have this, in hand to go to the Park Service and say, now hold it, what are we trying to accomplish here? Now, under current people that are in power there, whether they can get anything done immediately, probably not. But we can over time, and we will, I think, if we keep after this. But it's going to take a pretty good united effort, and we're going to need our U.S. Senator and U.S. Senators and congressmen involved to help, at least to help find some middle ground in this thing that's reasonable and things, because it went on not just the accessing just from boulders or vehicles, but even talking about somewhere down the road change as far as horse trails and what's allowed and so on. But and I get it, there are some conflicts. There are those who want to go down and use their side-by-sides and four-wheelers, and hey, that. But now the horse people aren't too keen on trying to be going down a trail way back in there and have some four-wheelers come blasting by. That doesn't work very well. So there's some compromise and that has to be made. I get that, and some common sense, and I think that can be done. But to just arbitrarily start in hauling rocks, they done this down on the Sinkin, where Sinkin Creek actually runs into the Current River, and the big gravel bar there. They complained that the people camping there were damaging the gravel bar by playing horseshoes on the gravel bar with the horse. And I thought, are you kidding me?
Breaking up the rocks, huh?
Let the first good flood come from the river, and you can never tell where anybody was playing horseshoes. It's not going to happen. So what they did, they brought these great big, huge boulders, 3 and 4 feet tall, weighing tons, and set them in place out there. And you want to talk about damage to gravel bar? What do you think happened whenever the river got up 10 feet high there, swirling around them rocks? Now there's damage to the gravel bar. I mean, total idiots sometimes in some of their rationale and some of their tactics, but whatever.
They're being told from Washington, D.C. what to do, and D.C. has no clue about a gravel bar. They have no idea.
Right.
And so go put 3-ton rocks there. Well, okay, 3-ton rocks. You're going to put them there, and the water's going to wash it around. Then they're going to start to move, and then the gravel bar is going to be permanently damaged.
Right. Yep, exactly. There you go. So anyway, that's one meeting. But I would encourage folks about this issue with ONSR, those are National Scenic Riverways, and their Roads Trails Management Plan deal, and this gripe about this issue about the boulders. Please contact Senator Hawley, Senator Blunt's offices, and Congressman Smith's office, either at Rolla or Cape Girardeau. They got big offices. Let them know. Let them have that, because they need that in hand to be able to go take up the fight and help us with that. So anyway, but I did appreciate Congressman Smith's gentleman there, Grant Wilson, being there to hear. It was very interesting. So
yeah,
anyway.
I'm sure he got Jason's ear on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, I'm sure he heard about it later that very evening.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and because Jason knows.
Yeah.
So anyway,
you attended an economic development meeting in Houston, set up by Salem and Dane County's own economic development director, Sally Burbridge.
Yes, Sally Burbridge. She did set up a meeting for the area down here served, by Denton, Texas, Shannon, and all those kind of Howell County, this area, because anything that goes on economic development wise in those areas, hey, many times we have people drive over there. I mean, we have a lot of common issues and common goals and things for employment and things. And let's face it, Highway 63, that corridor is a major corridor for obviously for transportation and for economic development and so on. So Sally did set it up, had a very good turnout. It was held at the City of Houston Industrial Park at the Durham Company, and I never heard of it or knew of it or anything. But if you've got a big electrical panel box hanging on your wall, and what they do is they subcontract and they make this stuff for the Siemens Company, Siemans, I think is how it's spelled. But if you've got a big breaker box, or if you're like at somewhere in a commercial facility has a huge, big electrical box sitting on a pedestal. They make those. They employ about 300 people at the plant that we were in there in Houston, and we toured the plant. Very interesting. And anyway, said they need to employ about 50 more, and they are one of the major employers there in that Houston area. But at any rate, Sally Burbridge did set the meeting up to just discuss economic development issues for our area. One of the things talked about at length was improvements to Highway 63 from Jeff City to the Arkansas line. That is a goal for everybody, and of course we've talked about that before on our transportation
Many
advisory
years.
thing. We'd love to see some improvement, especially that section from Jeff City coming down to Vienna or on down to Rolla. And we'd like to see 4-lane. Is that being over optimistic? Maybe, but at least if they could get it into what they call a super 2-lane, with some passing lanes
in there.
and some things like that, that would be a great improvement. Because if you're ever going to Jeff City in the morning or trying to come back from Jeff City back to Rolla in the afternoon at different times, it can be pretty. There's a lot of truck traffic, and let's face it, up there, just the Quaker Windows Company up there at Freeburg and things that they've expanded, and there's a huge amount of employees work there, a lot of trucks then it takes to service that, and them trucks are going to go either on up to Highway 50 or on up to 70, or they're going to come south down to 44. And so that is a goal there, but of course the folks on south of us would like to see further improvements on 63 going on down to Arkansas. And so anyway, so that was talked about, and then also about developments in the broadband, better broadband, and we're anxious to see what finally gets done in total with the state as far as the money, but also the programs and plans to get it done. Excuse me. And and just talking about the different suppliers and what they're doing already to try to address the broadband thing. So there's a lot happening there, and I'm optimistic that there's going to be some good things happen in this area of improving broadband access across the area and region. So anyway, so something to keep in mind.
Very good.
Another big meeting I went to was actually just this week. I had mentioned before, we've got this Department of Revenue situation where there was a mistake made somehow or another in coding and information for a large entity, that resulted in the county being on the hook because of this mistake. It wasn't the county's mistake, I want to emphasize. Somebody, somehow or another, Department of Revenue has still never really explained it to us fully how this happened. But at any rate, we ended up last year, February, March, and April, with a little over $1 million, $1,005,000 of our sales tax revenue being withheld. No sales tax revenue in February, March, and very little in April.
And no warning.
And no warning, no nothing, and and so on. And then it goes along, and now they've identified another approximately 900,000, and they're still working with our attorney to verify how that happened and where it happened and whatever, and how they done it. I mean, again, it's the Department of Revenue's mistake. I had asked for, and I mentioned this to Senator Brown, that I wanted a meeting with the director of the Department of Revenue sometime here before we were done, because I want them to hear from our side. All the director is hearing is from his own people.
Sure.
And I'm sure they're good people, but I wanted him to hear it from our perspective, what happened here and how frustrating this has been. The Director of Revenue now is Wayne Wallingford, and he was just appointed by Governor Parson in December. Department of Revenue historically has had some problems and things, and Governor Parson appointed Wayne Wallingford to take it over. Wayne Wallingford is he's a super nice fella from over Southeast Missouri. He served as a representative over Southeast Missouri, and then served as senator for several years in the Cape Girardeau area. Nice guy.
Very familiar with how counties work.
Oh, very familiar with how counties work, obviously, and very familiar, of course, then with problems in the past with Department of Revenue, just from being a legislator. So Senator Brown contacted Director Wallingford and set a meeting up for him to come over and be at Senator Brown's office this past Tuesday. And so Commissioner Larson and I met with him and the Department of Revenue Legislative Director, Zach Wyatt. And we just kind of spelled out, and we just went back to when this first happened, when we just got this bomb laid on us by Department of Revenue in February last year of, we made a mistake, and sorry, therefore you're going to have to pay. And So anyway, we went down through the timeline, kind of how this happened, and he was very attentive, very interested, and kind of apologetic about. Of course, he wasn't there. He didn't know the particulars. I think he found out some things through our visit that he was not aware of at all. That he wanted to look into some more, and was very, very sincerely interested, and I think will be as we move forward here and trying to figure out how to swallow another 900 and some thousand, which we will, but and we can. We don't want anybody to panic that we're broke. We're not, and we'll address that as well and move on. And fortunately, we're in a position, as I've said before, we're in a position to take this hit without being destroyed. And my attorney again this week, as I talked to him about this thing, he said most of the small counties many of the small, I shouldn't say most, but many of the small counties our size, because he deals with counties all over the state,
Sure.
would be absolutely, some of them would have just been totally wiped out, and would not have even hardly been able to meet payroll. So we're fortunate in that regard that we're sitting on some reserves, and we'll still have some reserves. We'll end up using some ARPA funds probably from a lost revenue standpoint to backfill and make it work. But at any rate, I really, really appreciate Director Wallingford's willingness to come over and sit down with us and go through this, and for him to ask some very good questions and ask for some more information that I was able to get to him later when I got back home, some emails and some information that he needed to look at and see. So it was very interesting, very good, and would have nothing but good things to say about Mr. Wallingford, and believe he'll do everything he can to, within his power and within the scope of what the statute allows, to address the thing
Not
here.
forgive the money. But
Probably not within his statutory authority
No.
to forgive it, but
no, but he could extend the period of time to pay it back. And so that's
work with us and see what we can do.
Yeah,
So,
three-
but it was
3 months of no sales tax, Daryl. That's just like you mentioned. That can be. Thank goodness we didn't have any kind of emergency crisis come up at that time,
Right.
where the county would have to pay for it and hope to get reimbursed
Well, and-
within a year.
Yeah, and what's frustrating is back in some of the years when they said we were being overpaid, and we actually called Department of Revenue and said, it's nice that this amount is higher than what it has been, but are you sure this is right and we're good here? And oh yeah, nope, it's good. Yeah, you're good, no problem at all. Well, luckily we didn't just go out and spend it all, and some money was sitting there that we could, what I call it, for rainy days.
Sure, absolutely.
And so the rainy day hit last year.
That was
March,
a
and April.
tornado. That was a
Yeah.
derecho again.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was a hurricane. So anyway, but it was a very good meeting. And again, I really want, and also Senator Brown was there for the meeting. Representative Ron Copeland, he came in and sat in, and they both spoke on our behalf to the director as well, that this was very concerning to them about how the department let this happen and how they handled it, first of all. And as Representative Copeland emphasized, for this to have happened without any warning, when they knew going back earlier in 2020 there was a problem, and yet sat on it and didn't bother to tell us this just can't be. You just can't do this to counties or cities,
Right.
as the case may be. So anyway, I do appreciate their input and their backing us, and help. So and the director agreed it was kind of egregious how this had happened and been handled. So
Because
anyway,
the people on the lower end, Daryl, can pass the buck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they told me to tell you this. Well, who's they?
yeah.
Well, my supervisor.
I just appreciated finally having a chance to meet the guy at the top. So just so you know, this is the timeline of events and what happened on these different dates.
And here's the responses I got.
And the funny part is, even then, when I shared then that not only did they take $1.5 million, then they decided in May, they found another $735,000, and then in November they said another 190, and the director himself said, "My God, this is like Groundhog Day." And for folks who know the movie Groundhog Day, about some events just occurring over and over, crazy, and so I had a good laugh because I said that's exactly what we've said a few times. Geez. This thing is like the movie Groundhog Day, only worse. It's like the recurring nightmare. So anyway, he was very, very, very much, I think, sympathetic and interested seeing this, what happened, and knowing maybe a little better, getting a little better picture maybe than what he had been given so far.
I
don't
got
know.
some
I don't know.
eye-opening information about some people on his staff as well.
Yeah, for the most part, they've been very, very good to work with. They had one staff member who was extremely, I felt, obnoxious and rude, and I shared that with him, and I suspect, and actually, the person with the director chimed in and agreed that this probably might have been a problem in the past as well. So that might not be the most comfortable time for that particular one. But at any rate, if there was no reason for this person acted like that we were making the Department of Revenue a victim, and we weren't. That wasn't at all. We were just asking for information, and they were trying to get it. So anyway, it was a good meeting, but everything was really on a high plane and note, and I think the director felt very comfortable and very good about being in a position maybe to help if he can. So we'll see what'll happen.
I think with the way you described it, and I was thinking the man, instead of coming in very defensive, was very receptive to what he had to say because he wanted to know.
Mm-hmm. He did not come in at all with an attitude of defending the department. And I feel quite sure, I'm certain he'd been briefed. I'd be shocked if he had not been briefed a good bit about this situation from their perspective and what had been handled. But he didn't come in at all with an attitude of, you've overpaid, so therefore our people are just doing their job, so suck it up. Well, that wasn't.
There are some people out there like that. That's exactly what they would say.
No, that wasn't his demeanor at all. And everybody that knows him, his constituents from when he was a senator and rep, folks that have worked with him at Jefferson City in different capacity, have all said he's one of the nicest gentlemen, level-headed people you'd ever meet, and said we're probably very fortunate that he has been put in that position over there, that if anybody in that position would be in a spot to try to help and make things right, that he would. But the situation is what it is as far as what's there. So anyway, but it was a good meeting, and again I want to thank Senator Brown, Representative Copeland for being there, and Senator Brown for helping get it set up, and for them being there and help take up the cause and saying, hey man, this ain't right. This just ain't right. And so anyway, I appreciate that. Okay, so we got that covered. We'll mention a couple of things, something we took care of yesterday while we were there. We put out for bid. Yeah. Found out a while back, and we talked about this a little bit the last time I was on the radio, found out a while back that we really had no really good functioning extrication equipment. And we're talking about like Jaws of Life. That's kind of the catch-all term for it. But there's several different pieces when you're looking at extrication equipment, Jaws of Life just being one of them, that basically helps emergency responders get people out of wrecked vehicles. Right. That's the point, and get it done as quickly as possible. Previously, there'd been an old set that actually the hospital had housed, and they housed them in an older ambulance that had been taken out of service. And it's a very big, bulky thing. It was powered by a gasoline engine with a hydraulic pump on it, and hoses would run to it. The pump is evidently is no good, no longer working, which pretty much then makes all the equipment no good. The hospital, they've been trying to regroup. Really, this isn't the job or responsibility for a hospital anyway to even house this stuff, and it required an extra person from the hospital besides the ambulance crew to even drive the extrication unit to the site. They have better equipment now. There's several different pieces, tools in a set, and they can be housed on a fire truck. So we looked at this. Basically, found out that there was no viable, useful extrication equipment in the county at this time. Actually, the hospital has since brought that old ambulance with that old equipment over to the Dane County Fire Protection District Firehouse. I left it there. And so I visited with our emergency management director, Brad Nash. He visited with the various fire chiefs out at Lennox, Jadwin, Montauk, and well, Lennox and Utter, it's all part of the Lennox Rural Fire. So at any rate, what we found was, talked to them.
Think about timber as well, right?
I think timber has a set.
We
talked to them. Yep, okay. They have a set. And what was doing was looking at fire districts that have a firehouse in Dent County. What we did, we decided to put out for bid for the county to buy 4 of those sets. At the time, it was estimated it was going to run around $120,000, $130,000 for those. We will probably use some ARPA ARPA funds for that, and that's a use. We can do that. And so we did put that out for bid. We opened them bids yesterday, got 2 bids from 2 different firms, good firms, very close bids. One is 111,000, one is 112,000, and it's actually for the exact same equipment.
Right.
It's just 2 different firms that are distributors, but for the exact same equipment. So we turned that over to Brad Nash to review those bids. There was some difference in the one firm that had the little, actually a little higher bid, but they're going to provide some extensive training along with that and some things. I talked to Brad later. We basically, the commission said, Brad, check it out, check that equipment out, and compare it just to make sure that we're looking at apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and check it out as far as what its capabilities are, and what comes with the package as far as warranty and training and so forth. I talked to Brad Nash some more about that yesterday afternoon, and he was looking through that very closely. And we told him, and actually the commission went ahead and voted to give the Emergency Management Director, Brad Nash, total authority to just go ahead and, when he determined which one was offered the better package, to go ahead and get it ordered. So actually I spoke with Brad Nash this morning, and that extrication equipment has been ordered. Looks like it will probably be somewhere around maybe July when that equipment will be here, but probably late July, first part of August when that equipment will be here. And what we'll do is we will supply those. They'll basically like be on loan to each of the fire departments, and they'll sign a memorandum of understanding that they will supply insurance. Done some checking on that. You know, it's funny, as a fire department, they can actually get insurance for their equipment at a much cheaper rate than if the county went ahead and insured it ourselves. If it's some type of a special accommodation that is made for insurance for fire deals, don't ask me. But anyway, so and it's really pretty minimal what it'll cost each fire department to go ahead and insure it, with the county being the loss payee. But we'll get that out to them. We'll get some training and to make it work. But they're pretty slick units. Each one is a self-contained unit, but they're much better, more effective. And it's saying even the ones with cutting jaws will cut through some of the hardened metal that's being used in vehicles today versus what was. So anyway, so we did get that. That is actually has been ordered. It is on the way, but we did take the $112,000 bid. Was a little higher, but it came with some more a little better training and service along with it over a period of several years.
Absolutely. So, well, and you're talking about also you mentioned the Salem Hospital. Hospital did come in and talk to the commission. Obviously, people know that the commission had authorized up to $200,000 to help them with their transformer, but they also came in and talked to the commission about trying to help them save money on workman's comp as well.
Right. They come in just to share, that they might be able to provide some services. It will obviously be some contract services, but just to share, as they're getting going and trying to build business and do things, But they come in and sit down with us to share that they could probably do some things, maybe if we needed some help with getting physicals done, pre-employment or post-offer, blood work and blood screening and just different things along that area, just to keep in mind and so on. So that's something we'll be thinking about as we go along.
It's a set of baseline because a lot of insurance companies say, well, where were they, before they made the claim? Well, if you don't have any proof of where they were, then you pretty much have to pay it, but the hospital say, okay, here's where they were.
It could be, and it could prove very beneficial if you're hiring somebody that is part of the job is going to have to be lifting and doing some things like that, and then you take a physical and find out you can't lift 5 pounds. That creates a problem, and so at least it's better to know that on the front end than later. So anyway, so they come in. It was a good visit, and really appreciate the job that Bill May and crew are doing to kind of.
They didn't bring donuts that time, but they did yesterday.
Yeah, they stopped by yesterday with a box of donuts. So that was nice, real nice. Yeah, we did very much appreciate that. So anyway,
very good.
So that kind of took care of that. I do want to mention also, folks may or may not be aware though that actually ended up with a vacancy on the Dent County Health Department board. There was an oversight in that process back in December that no notice of vacancy was given or election, that they needed to have it. They should have had an election in April.
Right.
And that's the responsibility of the health department to get that information to the county clerk. They didn't do that, and so therefore a board member whose term expired in April has expired. So it's up to the
Well,
commission.
just the term expired. They haven't.
Right, yeah, the term expired. The person's fine. He's fine. Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Major. So anyway, so they brought that information to us. It is by statute the commission's responsibility to fill a vacancy on that. We did put a notice, publish a notice that there was a vacancy, and for anyone interested in filling that vacancy to get their information to us by 10 a.m. this coming Thursday, May the 12th. And so then the commission, and if there's more than one person gives information that they're interested in it, then we will probably do some interviewing of those, and the commission will select one to appoint to the board, and it will just be fulfilling the unexpired term until the next municipal election in
next
April of
April.
23. So, and that's how that'll work.
Okay, very good.
So
Well,
that's
we
going
did
on.
speak about Sally Burbridge, Economic Development Director. She did come in and give her May report for April on May 2nd.
Uh-huh.
She does that to keep the commission up to date on different
Every
things
month.
going on, not only in the county that she is working on, but also within the city of Salem. So, because she is, we'll say, co-sponsored by both, and it does help for not only let the city know what the county's doing, but let the county know what the city's doing, so you can kind of know what's happening, and everybody's in the know.
Right.
That's the best way to do it.
And then before that, actually, just after the election, she brought in new mayor Greg Parker to come in and visit with the commission, and I very much appreciated that, and I look forward to working with the new mayor, new alderman, and the whole crew over there. So yeah, but then, as you say, Sally comes in at the first of every month and gives us kind of an update of what's happened since the last time she was in just all kinds of various areas. And we really appreciate the work she's doing. Progress on the certified site out at the industrial park, which is
Right.
going to be a real asset to be able to use to lure to get a business here. That you've got to have a site ready. Sometimes more than just there's a piece of ground with a bunch of woods, and
It could be made
it
into.
could be you could when they get that certified site, then that means that it can be a building can be start construction on something that would fit what somebody needs could start just almost
Right away,
immediately.
yeah.
So anyway, I do appreciate her work on that, and really do appreciate her coming in. As you say, the county does sponsor. It is a joint effort between the city and the county to have that position filled by Sally, and I think we hit a real home run in getting Sally to agree to come here. It looked like for a while we weren't going to get her back here, but and we're lucky though. Sally has family ties here. She grew up down in the Bunker, Reynolds County area. So, her heart is here, and you can tell it in talking to her and the way she goes about her job and what she gets done. And again, she's working, for city and the county, but she's really been working also then, on trying to help even regionally get some things done. Because if we can all work together to get some more business here, even in the Rolla area, sometimes a business is going to have interstate access. Sometimes they're going to have railroad access, or at least sometimes they're going to have US 63. Sometimes they want either interstate or U.S. highway access or both.
Or four-lane access
Yeah,
or something.
all those things come into play, and if it's some of those things there that we aren't going to meet as far as what they need, well, if she can help a neighboring town get one of those large employers in, like has happened in the Rolla area, and as happens like over in the Houston area and some of those places, and could happen south of us too. You never know. So anyway, it all works together, and Sally's really working at trying to pull everybody together and keep things moving along. And that was a whole idea in filling that economic development director position.
And we did have Sally in along with Scott Schultz and Patrick Stites here a little over a week ago, talking about the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission lead paint program. It's a remediation program to remove lead paint. And she did mention this to the commission, and that is a county-wide program. So if you have lead paint and you're even a grandparent, you say, well, my house was painted 60 years ago. More than likely, it's probably done with lead paint. But say you watch your grandkids or great-grandkids, you qualify for this grant.
You
just
can,
need
you can get some help to get
get
that
some
get
help
it removed.
up to $15,000,
Yep.
which is that's pretty sizable.
Contact Sally or call the Merrimack Regional
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
Contact Patrick
Talk
Stites
to
there,
Patrick.
265-2993.
That's it. 265 2993.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that she keeps, the county up to date on, and of course the Welcome Home program, and she just touches on all the different things she's involved with, which is great. And of course, as you mentioned, she's part of the Delta Regional Authority educational program as well. So there's a lot of ties she has with different communities and different regions as well. Delta Regional Authority goes all the way down to Louisiana.
Right. It's the
Long way
entire
down
Mississippi
there. Yeah.
Mississippi drainage deal.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Going
because
down.
our current river goes into the Mississippi, she's part of it.
We're part of it. So,
I mean, it's our current river, Merrimack River. Excuse me.
well, part of it's current
Well,
river.
yeah, I know, but that
Lower
goes-
part's current,
that's
so we qualify.
it does. I mean, that's the other part of it. I mean, but Merrimack directly goes into the Mississippi. The current kind of
While we're talking about economic development, though, I'll mention too, we did send a letter up to Senator Brown urging him to just to give him some extra fuel, but urging him to support extra funding, additional funding for Montauk State Park. They need funding just for some general maintenance upkeep, but they need some extra funding to do some improvement and do some expansion, some things. And they could really, if Montauk had a bigger lodge that had meeting room space and the more motel type rooms and things available, there's a lot of conferences of groups and organizations that would love to come to Montauk and set up for summer conference and some things in that beautiful setting that it is and stuff. So and the old lodge, it just needs a whole lot of work or it needs to be replaced. And so we did send a letter, the county commission did send a letter up to Senator Brown, and he is very supportive of that, and we do appreciate that as well. So we'll see what comes out of that. I think they'll have their final budget approved by 6 o'clock this evening, is from what I understand. So
that's supposed to.
we'll see how it looks, see how that comes out. I think the legislature ends next Thursday or Friday. I think next Friday. So anyway, but a lot of things going on there. And one other thing, we did approve a request. Catherine Dent came in. She heads up a community choir and organizes that. She come in for a request to use the courthouse grounds for several events this summer on Sunday afternoons in the gazebo in that area right in there. To
Choir to perform.
choir to come and perform Sunday afternoons. Said Cosmopolitan Club will probably be there serving some lemonade and some cookies. So be thinking about that, and there will be more information on that coming out as we get into that. So
Yeah, I have that list of dates.
I think it's June, July, mostly June, July, and August. But Stan's going to go find it. He's on the hunt. So anyway, so we did.
June 12th.
Starts June the 12th. First one will be Sunday, June 12th.
Then June 26th, July 10th, July 24th, August 14th, and August 28th.
Yeah. So anyway, so we did approve that request, and that'll be interesting, and hope folks enjoy that. And I appreciate Catherine's working with that group. It's a good deal. So anyway, other than that, would mention, of course, the courthouse will be closed this coming Monday. Be no commission meeting this Monday. We'll meet again next Thursday on the 12th. On the 12th. That's right. And we will
Tomorrow
be
is what, Daryl? It's a community-wide yard sale.
community-wide yard sale. If there's something you need, I'll bet it's at a yard sale somewhere in
That
town.
is too.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and
it's
then
supposed
Sunday,
supposed to be sunny.
beautiful day. I think their timing's
tell you
perfect.
what,
Yep.
yeah.
So anyway, so
And then Sunday's what?
happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mom's
It's Mother's Day. So hug your mama, hug somebody else's mama, tell them you appreciate them. Yep. Thank
Without
God.
mamas,
Thank-
we wouldn't be here.
Thank God for our mamas. Yep. So love them.
There you go.
Yep.
There
They're-
you go.
they're
Very
special.
good. Love them while you have them, because when they're gone,
Yep.
you really do miss them.
Just think of all they've put up with.
Well, that's the truth.
I'm feeling sorry for your mama as I think about it, Stan. No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
I felt sorry for her too.
Yep. I'm going to have some. I'm going to leave here and go have some breakfast with my mama.
There you
So,
go.
Anyway, so yeah, Sunday's Mother's Day, so everybody enjoy that. Take advantage
Should be a
of it.
great
Sounds-
day. 77,
beautiful day.
78 for a high.
Yep.
Man,
Yep. So
enjoy it.
anyway, so
Watch
Stan,
squishing around out in the yard, though.
that's about all that I've got.
Well, it's a lot.
Catches this up.
It's a lot.
Yep. So anyway,
A lot of stuff going on. So again, we do want to remind everybody to please be careful if you're out and about. Most of the rain should be pretty much out of our area by now, so not going to be too much left out there. Maybe a sprinkle here or there. Be about it. Maybe we'll see some sun this afternoon. But remember, runoff water doesn't just all show up when it rains. It takes a while to get there.
that's
so,
right.
give it a little time to come down. And then go if you have issues with roads at that time. Please contact the county. You have the number there, don't you? Off the top of your head.
Let me see the county road and bridge number. I will have that for
I
you
never
here in
remember
just a
that
second.
number, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head. And many times, if there's an immediate issue of concern, why you can call the sheriff's office,
Sure.
dispatch, and they will get to the commissioner. But otherwise, you can always call 729-7770. Even if nobody answers, there is an answering machine. They do check it. Believe it or not, they do. They'll check that, and they'll be looking for information about particularly bad spots or something, because you just can't get over 600 and some miles of road immediately. So as people see those, find them, sure, call 729.
But if there's a washout that makes the road impassable or a tree across, contact sheriff's office at 911.
Yeah.
Let them get out there so they can get that off there.
Yeah,
Or
they'll get a
fix that
hold.
road.
They'll get a hold of the appropriate commissioner that can get a crew out there and get on that if it's something that demands immediate attention and things. So, but anyway, but otherwise, just call 729-7770.
Gerald, you brought up in the last meeting the anniversary of May 9th.
Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah,
That was a Mother's Day weekend, too. That was,
May the 9th.
oh, Lord. We remember that, don't we?
I do remember that. It was May the 8th of 2009 was when we had the Derecho hurricane.
May the 9th is when you really saw how much damage was done.
And it was true, and it was on Truman's birthday.
Yeah.
And that's when we had probably right at 100-mile-an-hour winds hit the county.
From
and,
two directions.
Yeah, and it really done a tremendous amount of damage. And washing and rain, like we flooded Highway 19, closed for a little while down here by United Country Real Estate.
Yeah.
That are
Water's
due
going
for a
across there. The,
so
the
much
creek's backed
hard-
up, and
Just hard to imagine.
that whole lower area down there, you were down about 3-4 feet of water.
Yep.
All from just really rain, but the backup of rain. And so when people say, well, why is the water runoff so much more now than it used to be? Well, you have more parking lots.
The more
When you have
concrete.
asphalt and concrete, and you got a 4-lane highway out there instead of an old 2-lane highway, that all water has to run somewhere. And then you've got a Walmart parking lot, and you've got new bank parking lot, new health center parking lot, different parking lots. That water has to run off. And guess what? When it runs off into the same drain that all the other water's running off into, you just double the water.
It's going to go downhill.
Got to go somewhere.
Yep.
And it does go downhill. That's
Yep.
unfortunate. Sometimes
Yep.
send it uphill.
Sometimes you just can't get it downhill fast enough. That's the problem. But anyway, we got through it.
Yeah, we did. We
and,
did.
We're very lucky.
Well, we learned a lot of things from that, though, as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
A lot
anyway,
of cooperation with a lot of people in that, making things happen.
Yep.
But
That was a long weekend there. I believe that was a Friday. I think that time.
Fridays when
that
it
hit
came. Yep.
on that holiday.
Yeah, Ray Waldman was sitting right there where you are, and we were watching it come in.
Yeah.
And he said, "He goes, I think I'll bring it back to the office."
I
said,
actually
"Yeah."
was down at the firehouse with the emergency management director. I had actually been out at R3 school, at our school out there. My daughter's class, they were fixing to take a trip to Jefferson City.
Yeah, there was
And
a couple of people.
When I advised the
classes.
superintendent of what Brad Nash was telling me what was coming, they decided to back off and keep the buses there and wait till the storm passed. And thank God, it would have been a terrible. place to-
And we got hit with a derecho, but there are other towns. St. James got hit with big winds out of that. I mean, there was a lot of that that came through the area.
all across.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of damage done, and it went all the way down through the bunker areas. It was
Yep.
huge.
Madison County over there got hit hard.
Yeah.
A lot of timber laid over. Reynolds County. Yep.
And it took
Anyway.
years to clean it up. Years.
So-
a lot of fuel.
Well,
Well,
we
we
will
wanna-
be back here in a couple of weeks.
We sure
on
will, Daryl.
May the 20th, I
May
believe
the
it'll be.
20th. That'll be graduation night for Salem High School.
Oh, is that right? Yep. All right.
Weather permitting,
Yep.
obviously. Let's hope the weather starts to cooperate for some of these things now.
It will somewhere along the line.
It does.
Somewhere
Anyway,
in a few weeks or months, we'll be crying, wishing it would rain.
I agree
You
with
wait.
that. Anyway, we do want to thank Daryl for coming in, spending some time with us. This program is paid for by Daryl out of his pocket. It is not a free program, and he does pay for the program to keep you informed about what's going on in your county. And been a lot of years we've been doing this, my friend.
Several. Yep. going back to about 2008, I believe.
I believe you're right, and
Yep.
so it's all. We hope that you get something out of the program besides, just saying, well, Daryl's there, and he gives. We want to give the details behind the stories that you can't get in the Salem News or on KSMO. We can't. There's no
Yeah.
way you'd have that much time, and we try to get the background information. Daryl does a great job with that.
Yep. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Stan. I appreciate the job that you all and the newspaper do, though, covering the what's going on. But I do appreciate the chance to come in and give maybe a little bit more detail and information. I hope folks learned a little bit. I do appreciate those who tell me they've heard it and their thoughts. But yep, I do pay for it. Wrote a check this morning. But I do appreciate the chance, Stan, and always enjoy visiting with you about what's going on. And but we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and until then, I do hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy. God bless each and every one, and have a great Mother's Day.